Well, hello, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Empower Her virtual series. Today's episode is Consume the Room. My name is Erica Morgan, and I am the Director of Programs at Dress for Success Columbus. We are a workforce development agency that empowers women to be great. We empower all women. And so I am so honored to have each of you tuning in for today's episode, but I am even more excited for you to get to know Nicole Barnes-Marshall, the Global Head of Inclusion and Diversity at Pinterest. Hi, Nicole.
Hello, Erica. Hi, Erica. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to chat with you today. And I know we have quite a few people that are excited to just get to know who you are and hear more about Consume the Room. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on what Consume the Room is like. So, Nicole, who is Nicole?
Who is Nicole? Ooh, I love that question. Well, I am a female who identifies as a woman. I am a wife to Kenny. I'm a mom to Kennedy and Aaron and Nicholas. I'm a daughter of Patricia and Reginald, friend and family to countless others. I'd say I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And when it comes to my purpose in life, I am a passionate champion for inclusion, diversity, equity, and belonging. I have dedicated my life and career to this work, and that really is the greatest representation of who I am outside of my essence as a human.
I love that answer. Oh, Nicole, can you be my friend?
I will be your friend. Look, we were already friends before we got here.
Yes. Right, because I'm gonna get that necklace after the show. You should see all the eyes.
We can borrow it. We can share it.
We could share it.
Share.
We'll take turns. We'll take turns. Okay,
Right.
so Nicole, thank you for answering that, but we're gonna kind of dive right in. I know people are super excited. So, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear me say consume the room?
Yes, when Habiba shared the topic with me, I got really excited about it because what instantly comes to mind for me is presence. All right, so that's not only the external and physical presence that you have in the room, but also your internal presence in knowing what power you have already within you, and then how you demonstrate that in the spaces that you occupy. So often we tell ourselves or have a story about who we are or how we're showing up in the room, But if we take that moment to look deeper within and connect to that, to that source, to that power that is already there, that's just waiting to be tapped into, then in any room that you go in, you can consume it. Doesn't mean you're going to be the focus of attention in the room, but when you do speak and when you do act, you're saying and doing things that make a difference in that room. That's what consume the room means to me.
I love that. I want to pause right here and just let all the viewers know that you are able to submit questions. If you would like for me to ask them while during the conversation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So, Nicole, my next question then would be, how have you learned to consume the room in your own life and career?
Yeah, so I didn't always consume the room, and it certainly took a journey to get there, to get to a place of really one tapping into that value, and not only that, but knowing and being present and aware of that value in the spaces that I'm in, because I can have that. I would have that kind of pep talk when you go into the interview, or you go into a networking event, or just into spaces where you show up as the only fill in the blank, only woman, only person of color, only English speaker, whatever that may be, and then even though you'll have that pep talk, the negative voices start to come in, like, okay, all right, well, just play it cool, just come in and do what you got to do and get out. And so what I've learned to do is to be present to that voice, to not try to ignore it, or suppress it, or even fully engage in it. Just notice it, and like give it the attention that it wants, and then let that thought pass like another cloud in the sky, and then I can move right into what it is that I really want to accomplish in that room. So that took a lot of practice, and it also took a lot of internal work. So I meditate quite a bit. I consider myself more of a spiritual person than a religious person, and really tapping into that, my experience of spirit, and really trusting a lot of my senseis around me. I would always have mentors, sponsors, coaches. I always love to get perspective and advice from people around me. And what I continued to hear was, Nicole, you know everything there is to know about that subject, yet you're not bringing that voice into the room. So, what is it going to take for you to bring that voice and know that your voice has value? And it took a while, but once I started really tapping into it, then it became very natural, more like kind of a regular practice. I just have that moment of flutter, pay attention to it, allow it to pass, just like, and on to the next thought, and then start to generate from that place of power. And often I don't even have to think about it, because it'll just come. The thinking happens when you're worried and trying to craft a particular image for people. But when you're allowing yourself to just be, and tapping into what's really inside, then you don't even have to think about it. Your natural light really does come through.
I love that. Allow yourself to just be. And I love that you mentioned having a mentor. I am a firm believer that everybody needs a mentor, even if it's just one. We
Mhm.
all need a mentor. It's so important for our success, and for us to just hear it and get some critique from somebody in a loving way, but still it's imperative to all of our success. I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. And I'll talk a little bit about that too. And I mentioned mentors, sponsors, and coaches, because they all play different roles.
Yes.
The mentor will do that, give that support and that nurturing, that, like that encouragement. The sponsor is going to open the doors and say, okay, I see you, Nicole, and if this is where you want to go, I'm going to help you get there. But then you need those coaches too, who are going to kick you in the butt. and tell you the real deal, straight no chaser. And so I like that balance of having, those different types of relationships in my life, because that all helps me to get better and really be able to consume the room, any room that I'm in.
I love it. So, everybody tuning in, a mentor, a sponsor, and a coach. Tap into one. So, let's just move along. So, Nicole, politics exists in all places, and some levels of code switching seems to be necessary, primarily in the workplace for people of color. How do you show up as your authentic self while navigating rooms that don't look like you?
Mm, mm. I just love everything about this question, and I've been in the work of leading diversity, equity, and inclusion now for 22 years, and that's the most common question that I get, and so much so that I even designed some courses around this in particular, as it relates to leadership. And when I think about what it takes to truly be a leader, no matter who you are and no matter what difference you bring into a room, it really kind of boils down to three things for me. It's around alignment, so the ability to bring people with different perspectives and backgrounds together on a common goal. Agility, the ability to shift and adjust and adapt to the current environment, because as we know, in the lives that we've led over the past 2 years, things will shift on a dime, and that ability to shift will also help you lead yourself and lead others. But the most important one is the third one, which is authenticity, and that really is the ability to truly bring your full and whole self into into the workplace and into the spaces that you enter. And as a Black woman, I know that I have engaged in code switching, and I know for everyone to some degree have found themselves trying to shift and adapt to the environment in order to assimilate and in order to fit in. And in particular, when you layer on diversity on top of that, when you're in the numerical minority, then you feel almost compelled to code switch.
Mm.
Now, here's my belief around that. As humans, we all, and as adult humans, we all find ways to communicate and to get our message through in the environments that we're in. So we naturally shift and adapt. So the way that you speak to your girlfriends is different than the way that you speak to your parents, is different than the way you speak to your boss. So that kind of adjustments are very real and very natural for all of us. The key here is this: the ability to have congruence across those different spaces and in those different environments is where authenticity comes in.
Mm.
So if I have to, communicate and deliver, a proposal for a diversity strategy, I wouldn't present that in the way that I would talk about it with my sponsor or mentor, because I'm going to have just a more relaxed and more specific way of communicating, because I want to get feedback that's more relevant to me. When I'm delivering a proposal about that work, then the purpose of my communication is to influence them to support the proposal that I'm presenting. So I have to shift my approach. Now, what I don't lose is my true self in how I deliver that approach. And what we often find ourselves doing, if we're not present, if we're not aware, is we'll be shifting so much in the workplace that we lose ourselves, that when we
Mm.
hear ourselves speak, we almost don't recognize that person because it's not congruent to the person that you know in every other area of your life. And so what I've found is when I'm really paying attention, and also, and this is another very important thing, that I own my Blackness. I'll say again, I own my Blackness, meaning that me celebrating and being unapologetically Black and a woman does not diminish the value that any other human has in the room that I'm in. So as long as I know I'm valuing everyone else, then I can bring my voice into that space. And I will tell you, it took a long time for me to get to that place. But once I got there, then I was able to deliver my proposals, my ideas, my value proposition in a way that was really me, not me trying to switch and adjust it in ways that I thought it would fit for that room, which in many cases that didn't work. And that's why I felt like I wasn't successful. But when I finally was able to let that go and say, you know what, I'm going to do me and still deliver it in a way that makes sense to me and also communicates what they need to hear to get it done, then I can truly be my authentic self. Whether I get the proposal or not, or get it in the way that I hope to or not, I still leave feeling whole because I didn't leave any part of myself at the door. So that's what comes to mind, and it's certainly my hope that for anyone who's listening, and certainly as we engage in a little dialogue after this, that we can begin to and you start to do the self reflection on what are the things that you're sacrificing when you're code switching. What is it that you're giving up? And when you're present to what that thing is that you're giving up, then now let's be intentional about putting it in. All right.
Yes.
And when you're intentional about it, then it feels authentic. It's not you trying to force it. It's not you trying to, craft it. It's just you being and letting it come through.
You are dropping gems. So we're going to be authentic, our authentic selves. We're going to
Mhm,
be unapologetically Black. We are
mhm.
just going to own our Blackness. I love that because a lot of times you hear, specifically Black women in a room full of people that do not look like them. I don't want to leave walking out feeling like the angry Black woman or not being my true self. And so I
Yes.
love taking ownership of who I am. And regardless of what happens, I didn't lose my true self. I love that.
Absolutely. 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 Look, you see behind this way, this is the Chicago flag right here. I have that here.
Yeah.
That's also for me to remind myself of not only who I am, but where I'm from. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I have all the ebonics that we all have when we talk, amongst ourselves casually, and I am fully able to bring that into spaces where I'm the only one because I own it. It's mine. Nobody can take that away from me, and I find deep value in it. I don't have any shame in it, so I don't have to hide it anymore. And that was one of the things that I realized, that I had some shame, like I had to
Mm.
tighten it up because I only had a state school education, and all of my peers had PhDs from Ivy League schools. So I had to try to fit in. Nah, man,
Mm.
I'm from the
I
South
love
Side
it.
of Chicago, but I know what I'm talking about, and what I have to say has value, and
Yeah.
that helps me own the room.
I think there's some excitement in the room about the South Side of Chicago. I see it in the
Okay,
chat
okay,
and
South
everything. So
Side.
you are not alone, my friend.
All right, all right.
So, so with that, how do you learn to find the strength to believe that your voice is valid, and then also the ability to use your voice, especially when your words might not be well received?
Yes, yes. Where do I find the strength? Well, I'll go right back to the beginning, and that truly is in my spirituality and my identity as a spiritual being. Um, when I identify myself with the things that I've done or the things that I've said in specifically, then that's where I start to break myself down, because then I can critique and take apart and judge every single thing that I did and said, and ruminate over it and kind of go back and forth on it, and I'll be radically vulnerable here. I for many years have suffered with anxiety and depression. So the human you're seeing now is someone who spent many years working on herself. And so that rumination on whether anyone else saw what I said was problematic, but I heard it as, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I should have said this instead of that. I would go over and over and over and kind of really beat myself up about it and take myself down a very negative path. So much so that in my efforts to really, do the work that I came to do, and to be, impactful and successful in different environments earlier in my career, I found that I was trying to run up a down escalator. It was just getting worse and worse and worse, and I kept, judging myself more and more and more. And it took me taking some time away, getting the therapy and the help that I needed, to come to the conclusion and actually ask myself a very important question that I'd never asked myself before in life, which is, what is your truth? What
Mm.
is your truth? And when I answered that question for myself, it was truly like the most liberating moment of my life. It was kind of like that, like Neo in the Matrix moment where he realized he was the one. It was like, wait a minute, I am smart. I am capable. I'm a good friend. I'm a good wife. I'm a good mom. I'm a good person. I'm very loyal. Nobody knows more in this company about what I do than me. So I can own that versus either listening to the noise around me or believing the noise that's in my head. So that's where that strength comes from, is really knowing my truth and tapping into that source from within that is bigger than me, that truly allows me to be.
I love that. Thank you, one, for being transparent. Someone commented, "You don't look like what you've been through," and I would
Mm,
have to agree with
mm,
that. And I'm so
good.
glad about that. Right.
Yes,
For the viewers, I want you to remember, what is your truth. Take that back and look in the mirror and say, "What is my truth?" I love that. That's great advice. There is a question in the chat that I want to ask.
sure.
What advice do you have for women who are struggling with self doubt, seeing their potential, and having the courage to bet on themselves?
Mm, 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 mm. Well, what I knew I was going to have a chance to say this, and I'm going to pull it up on my screen because this is a manifesto that I've taken on for myself over the years. You've probably heard it before. I heard it for the first time in the late '90s, from Nelson Mandela. Then learned that the words came from Marianne Williamson, and it's the poem "Our Deepest Fear." So if you haven't heard this before, I hope this is a treat. But if you have heard it, just let it sink in again. But this is the advice, and I'm going to share this poem. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant,
Mm.
gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's my advice right there.
I love that poem. It is one of my favorites.
Mm,
Thank you for sharing that, because I'm
yeah,
sure there may be someone tuning in that had never heard that. I love that.
yeah.
All right, let me see if we have any more questions in the chat. All right. So then, um, I'm sorry. Okay. What advice do you have for women who are struggling with self doubt, seeing
Mhm.
their potential, and having the courage to bet on them? I just asked that, didn't I?
I believe so, but you can. I can take another put another take on that as well, because this is another one I've talked a lot about and heard from just countless women literally around the globe on this topic of imposter syndrome, right? So there's this narrative that somehow you tell yourself that you're not good enough when you go into the workplace and you see others around you, and you see what they're able to do, and you're not able to do the same things that they can do. So then you start to see yourself as the imposter, or you get promoted into a new role, or you start a new job, in a higher level or different capacity, and you start to doubt yourself that you can actually um, live up to what it is that you're now charged to do. And I believe this: the imposter syndrome is a lie. Now, this is my opinion, but I believe it is a lie. And here's why. As women, and especially as women of color, and especially as Black women, we have been told our entire lives in so many different ways, in so many different times, overt and covert, about how we do not belong in certain spaces, how incapable we are to do certain things, how we should be marginalized in certain capacities and lower capacities to make room and space for others because that's where they belong. So when you have heard that narrative your entire life, again, overtly passive and aggressive ways, it starts to become your narrative. So it's not like you have this imposter telling you're not good enough. You've been told you're not good enough, so it's no surprise that those thoughts are going to come up in your mind. But what the joy of this, on the other side of this, is that you can tell that imposter you a liar and go somewhere and sit down,
No, that's right.
because the truth of who I am lies within, and that is within is nothing but beauty, talent, creativity, innovation, ideas, success, wealth. Like, all of that is available, and we have access to it when we believe it and tap into it. And so when that imposter comes up again, kind of like I said earlier, those thoughts are going to come up because we've been told them. It's in our DNA. It's part of our generational psyche. It's been passed down for hundreds and hundreds of years of being marginalized in this country. So you can say, okay, I hear it, but that's not who I am. I'm going to go on to another thought.
Mm.
So maybe that's another way to go at that question, is to tell that imposter that they're a liar. They can go somewhere and sit down.
Yes, you are a liar, imposter. I love the truth of who I am lies within.
Yeah.
All right. So, audience question: how do you overcome the naysayers when you are not always welcome in rooms and your abilities are not recognized?
Yes, the naysayers, the
Mm.
haters, they just, love to pop up, especially when you're shining. That's when they make themselves the most visible, and try their hardest to intentionally and unintentionally bring you down. Um, you know, I wouldn't say that I have a specific strategy for dealing with the naysayers, but when it happens, for me, what the automatic reaction, because it's happened so many times in my career, I just kind of smile and welcome it, and just listen. Like, really? All right, tell me more. Help me understand. Really? Okay. And so then you can often, and in most cases, when people are being naysayers, it's not so much their desire to discredit you, it's more of their desire to validate themselves.
Yes.
So if I can get underneath what's at the source of this, because 10 times out of 10 I did nothing to earn that. Everything that I did, or certainly my intent behind what done, was to contribute and be a value partner. So when that stuff comes in, I just kind of like, okay, tell me more about that, and I'll get curious and ask more and really get to the heart of the situation. And in the overwhelming majority of cases, the heart of the situation has absolutely nothing to do with me. So instead of, how you've heard the phrase, it's not what they call you, it's what you respond to.
Yes.
So instead of responding to the naysayers, just listen, see what's really behind it. Um, and for me, that was very liberating to because that allowed me to not dismiss people who were haters or naysayers or had, personal or political beliefs that were, completely opposed to me, because I knew they weren't talking about me, because they don't even know me. If you knew me, you wouldn't say it. So that helps me to kind of separate from the sting of the words and of the behavior, and focus in on what's really at the heart of it. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to like what they say or be okay with what they say, but it will mean that I'll listen and still extend humanity to them, even though they're not extending it to me, and it also puts me in a place of empowering myself.
I love that. I love being reminding myself that they don't know me. If they knew me, they wouldn't say that. So I love, come on, Gems, keep dropping them. I love it. I'm here for it. So we do have another question. How did you learn to find the strength to that your voice is valid?
Oh, find the strength to believe that my voice is valid.
Mhm.
Hmm. If I were to pinpoint it to a few things, I'll just think over different phases of my life. One, in my earlier years, I was very, very fortunate to have a family that validated my voice. In some ways, they did invalidate it, because I'm of the generation of, you're a child, stay in a child's place.
Mhm.
So there wasn't always the space to offer my opinions all the time, and when I did speak, and especially when I did something at school or achieved a goal, or um, uh, you know uh, really kind of had something important to say, they listen and validate it and encourage it. So I think those early years of that validation, and we all get validation in different ways, but sometimes we pay more attention to the invalidation than the validation. In my later years, I started to focus and notice that I was validated more than I was invalidated, but I remembered the invalidation more.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd say that was the start. And then I'd say in my adolescent to young adult years, the strength of my voice just came in spaces where I saw that people who looked like me didn't have someone to speak up for them,
Yeah.
and somehow I just felt like I could help and I could speak up on their behalf. Um, I was involved in campus politics. I went to Western Illinois University. I ran for student government. I was in, students of political science, and went to Springfield and worked at the General Assembly in Illinois. And so, for me, it was important to um, help to be a voice for people who didn't have a voice, because I knew times when I felt like I didn't have a voice and someone came to my aid. And then from there, now and later in my career and in my life, I think that thread is really come through, is that I'm empowered as I empower others.
I love that because I too am empowered as I empower others. That's
Mhm.
why we are here empowering her. I
Yes.
love it. Thank you. So I want to be mindful of your time. I appreciate you joining us. I just have one last question for you. What is one thing you want our viewers to remember from our conversation?
Mm. I think what you just said, my last words, were really the thing to leave with with this group, which is as you empower others, you empower yourself.
Yes.
And the I truly owe the growth and success of my career to uh, dedicating it to empowering others, and and it started from having someone empower me. So it really is about paying it forward. So
Yeah.
if you find yourself feeling unempowered, or that your voice, you don't have the strength to bring your voice into certain rooms, find another person, or and I know there's already someone around you who needs some encouragement or some support, or just some advice in how to deal with a workplace situation or a personal situation. And when you pour into others, it comes back to you tenfold. And that just gives me for me, it gives me the motivation to continue to move forward. So
I
I
love.
appreciate being here. I appreciate the time to share my stories. And Erica, it was such a pleasure chatting with
Likewise, thank you so much. Someone said, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom out of love with us today.
you.
And
Yes.
I am so grateful and honored to have had this opportunity to have a conversation with you, but not only just myself, but to share it with our Dress Network. I look forward to the ongoing relationship that we will have beyond this. So, again, Nicole, I appreciate you and thank you so much. And have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And I am a long time meaning the 4.5 years I've been in Columbus, uh, donor and giver to Dress for Success.
Yes.
So
Thank
I
you.
am so proud to be a part of this. And again, happy to meet you. And congratulations to you, Habiba, and the rest of the team on all of the great work that you've done for women here in Columbus.
Thank you so much. Thank you for dropping that gem because all of our viewers feel free to donate Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Dress for Success Columbus. You can donate your gently used or new women's clothing to us, purses, jewelry, money, time, all of those great things. We would love to have you. Please tune in to our next Empower Her virtual series, which will be May 19th. And the title is Squad Goals, the power of sisterhood and success. Tell your friends about Empower Her because it's going to be great. So, again, you can always get in contact with us at our website, dfscolumbuscmh.org or dfscmh.org. Join us on our social media platforms. We on all of them. So just tune in. But again, our website is dfscmh.org, where you can learn more about how you can donate financially. You can donate your time being a volunteer, and you can donate in kind because we are always looking for jewelry, purses, shoes, and fabulous clothes to style our women. Thank you for tuning in to Empower Her virtual series, Consume the Room. I will see you next month on May 19th.